Hi Cancer, welcome to your August 2020 General Tarot reading. It's Raina here. I just had to start over again. I didn't get very far, so please bear with me. Now I realize I can edit my videos on YouTube Editor. They redid it, so I should have just continued, but oh well. The heart of the matter is the Five of Pentacles. And I don't like this depiction. I love the Morgan Greer deck, don't get me wrong. It's my favorite deck that I've ever owned. But I don't think it does it justice. Blood on a headband, like, okay, that makes sense, right? Not. And but in the Rider-Waite deck, and if I had that particular card to go to, I would just show it to you. But they show two people who are down and out in rags, and they're passing by a church, and their heads are down, so they don't see the divinity that the church represents, you know. And, well, this card, they do have the background, and this is kind of like the stained glass windows, I guess. But the gold represents, and the pentacles represent the material riches. But if they would have had a church building, that would have shown the spiritual. So in some cases, if a person is, for instance, like a miser, and they are they're overly concerned about money, they are never going to be happy. If this is connected to your work situation, with the shutdown, I don't know how it has been for a lot of people. I haven't really read a lot of information about it, but my feeling is that there were people who were furloughed and then they got called back. But I'm sure there were people who lost their jobs, and the Five of Pentacles can be that you are, you know, how are you coping with that if you have lost your job? And for Cancer, that can be a trigger because you are I think that it's safe to say that many Cancers are security-minded when it comes to their finances. Not that they are necessarily overly materialistic in terms of acquiring, you know, having fancy clothes and all that stuff. Not for show or for just overindulgence, but just because you want to have that protection. You want to feather your nest, you know. You rule the sign of the home, and that's kind of like the nest. So that can be a situation where it triggers that sense of insecurity about the material realm that is always present within you. And so if you don't have, and by the way, I would say that this is something that has already occurred as the month of August begins. So it's not something that you're just finding out about in August. It's something that, you know, is kind of first and foremost on your mind. But if you haven't lost your job, there may be something else in your life, or it could be money, where it's just like you feel that somehow there isn't enough. Maybe you got your hours cut, so your pay isn't exactly what it was. And that feels uncomfortable. Even if you can pay all your bills, just the fact that it changed. The number 5 in the Five of Pentacles is a number of change, instability. And for some people, this is unwelcome. This is something that they fear, that they want everything to, you know, present itself time after time after time in a predictable manner. But, you know, suffice it to say, I personally don't think that that's the meaning of life, is to have things very predictable. So I would say that for some of you, this is going to be maybe you're studying about law of attraction, and you're seeing how pessimistic your thoughts are with the Five of Pentacles, and how you need to nourish your thoughts, not to entertain thoughts of lack. And this can even be in relationships, because that is very important to Cancerians, is having loving relationships. But, and you notice I'm not just talking about romantic situations, but any kind of relationships. This is something that you really want to have in your life, but you might be part of the problem. And the reason you might be part of the problem is that you are too pushy about it, meaning that you feel this sense of like lack emotionally. But see, the Pentacles, they relate to tangible things, and you look to other people to fill you up. And that's the thing. It's you know, if you've heard the term about objectifying people, we tend to think of it in sexual terms. Objectifying women, making them into sex objects. Well, you can objectify people in many different ways. People can be objectified materially. They can be objectified to provide emotional support, like a support dog. And you're requiring this of another person, and then they naturally kind of keep their distance because they don't want to be forced into that role. In the past position, we have the Magician card. Yeah, I mean, I don't even like put two and two together when I'm doing this. It's like I go, hey, no, that makes sense. Yeah, because I think that the Magician card is about self-empowerment and things like that. So yes, I mean, perhaps Cancer as a collective sign is learning about the law of attraction. And it allows you to see where your fear-based thinking leads to fear-based action. There's not enough. This is, you know, the idea of there isn't enough is something that propels people into doing all sorts of things that are counterproductive for their spiritual growth and their light, and even towards their happiness in this lifetime. So, for instance, if you have been motivated to study something in school because it has the best chances of being, you know, of having job openings, and that's the criterion that you're using to decide whether or not to study a certain subject, unless you have a passion for that subject, you could be earning a nice living and you could feel dead inside because you're not interested in that subject, and yet you have to spend 8+ hours a day focused on it. Doesn't that sound insane in retrospect? And people say, yeah, but I have bills to pay. Well, I understand that, believe me. I have a lot of earth in me, even though I'm a Sagittarian, and I understand that we have you know, mundane realities like paying bills. But that doesn't mean that you can't move in that direction that the Magician suggests. You might have bills to pay, you might keep your day job, and you still are going to declare your sovereignty as a soul and say, I am hereby moving into this area where I'm going to determine how I show up in the world. You're a cardinal sign, Cancer. Don't get it twisted. You have the ability to be self-directed. You don't need somebody to tell you what to do. And it's also about, you know, creating, your own alchemy, where you can transform your life on your terms. The Tower card is transforming our lives based on these calamities happening that we are not consciously dictating, but they're happening regardless. That sounds insane. Wouldn't you rather be like the magician and kind of be self-directed? And I think too with the Five of Pentacles that it's important to note that we ultimately cannot, if we're working for somebody else, we can't control whether or not we keep our job, even if we do the greatest job ever. They will determine that. So it becomes out of our hands. So, you can hire yourself, you can, and you won't fire yourself. And, but it requires believing in yourself. And that may be where you're not quite there yet. Because the Five of Pentacles can be the glass half empty. Pessimism seeping in. The higher message. This is an offer of a spiritual, artistic nature. What do you have to offer the world, Cancer, that is spiritual, is artistic, and that you can give as service to humanity? Do you know in the Minor Arcana which card represents Cancer? Oh, you know what? I have your... Oh, no, I don't. Not in this. That was somebody else. I had the Chariot card. Your card in the Minor Arcana is the Queen of Cups. So if you think about what the Queen of Cups represents, it represents intuition, motherhood, things that are nurturing, and creativity. But psychic ability for sure. And the Knight of Cups is similar to that. This could even, this might be somebody that you meet that has those qualifications. I don't know how else to put it. But with the Five of Pentacles, this might be a person that you're with right now who is never satisfied. The first earth sign that jumped out at me is Capricorn. And I have no idea. Oh, I think, it's interesting. I think the Five of Pentacles is Mercury and Taurus. So, so it has a Taurus connection. But Mercury and Taurus, so it's the mind. 5, maybe it's because of 5 that it has the communication. But it's, yeah, so, but the sign of Taurus, the sign of Virgo, the sign of Capricorn, these earth signs, it may be too earthbound for you, and you need somebody who is more coming from a spiritual perspective, like the Knight of Cups. Somebody who's artistic, who understands you, especially if you're also artistically inclined. And but I think as a spiritual message, what do you have to give to the world? What crosses you is the Seven of Swords. So, Seven of Swords, I mean, the first thing that I see when I see this card is a card of deception. Can be physical theft. In relationships, it can be cheating. Where somebody's going behind somebody else's back, perhaps. And there were like 2 cards like that. I was like, oh my gosh, what is that? Where is that coming from? One thing too, yes, I did want to say this. I didn't really know how to, I'm just kind of all over the place right now. I guess in the, being the morning, my brain takes a while to catch up. But if you're in a relationship with somebody and you feel that it's not, you're experiencing a lot of angst with it, a lot of anxiety, and you may even know that this person is cheating, but you can't let go of the relationship because you feel like something else better will never come along, or I'll be all alone. These are the things that I'm talking about with the Five of Pentacles, this lack consciousness. That allows people to stay with something that is not healthy in some cases, is not making them, is not creating expansion and hopefulness within them. And the Knight of Cups is about the kind of person, we would say like the knight in shining armor, but not to save you, but to cherish you. Because when we're talking about cups, we're talking about the emotions. And perhaps you're with somebody who is pessimistic, who is materialistic, and it's not feeding you emotionally. And in that case, you can say to yourself, well, I'm going to stay with this person because, you know, I'm this age. Who knows if I'll ever meet somebody. I don't want to be alone. And being alone is like, oh my God, the worst thing in the world, which it isn't. It actually can be really nice and it can be very peaceful. But you're only seeing the negative side of it. And so you're playing small in your life. But it still is, the thing about it is, it still is creating this negative energy. It's like if you're working at a job and you're not being, and you're just doing it for the money, it's not nourishing your soul. And so, yes, you get to eat, and we do need to eat once in a while. I totally understand that. I have Taurus rising. I enjoy the act of cooking and eating. So, you know, totally feel you on that. But there's more to life. Man cannot live by bread alone. And so the Seven of Swords can be allowing yourself to be degraded by somebody else's sketchy behavior simply because you're afraid of being out on your own. And the Magician card, though, suggests that you are starting to understand that you have to do it for yourself. Maybe you've kind of had learned helplessness where you just thought that you were at the mercy of life, and you're realizing more and more that you have more power than you know. And that's good. I hope that that is the case so that you can embrace a brighter future. Also, in the workplace, the Seven of Swords can be that somebody is stealing your ideas. And even, you know, the Seven of Swords in the challenge position can be you being afraid of planning, you know, strategizing your exit from whatever this situation is, because maybe you're afraid to get that ball rolling, because you might know intuitively that once you start planning for something, that can give the universe a green light in making it happen. So you don't even want to tempt fate in that way. What's coming in is the Five of Swords. Maybe finding out who's doing what. And being like, you know, I'm trying to think here. Yep. Okay, I should have known. Okay, so I was just thinking astrologically. So on August 3rd, we're having a full moon at 11 degrees of Aquarius. For Cancer, no, this is just a general thing. Aquarius is your 8th house, and this is the house of secrets. You know, you could say the 12th house too. But this could be something being revealed that kind of blows the lid off of what people in the workplace have been doing. I always think of coworkers when I think of, I can't do this. This is jacked up, man. I can't do this. I always think of coworkers. Those people in the background, you know, kind of at the water cooler, dissing you. And the other thing, too, is if you're in a marriage or committed partnership, well, at least committed on your side, you might find out what that person is doing. And, but it's not a bad thing, because then it justifies your feelings, you know, or any behavior that you take it upon yourself to enact moving forward. And then we have is the outcome card. the Hierophant. This card is connected to Taurus. So there you go. There's another Taurus reference. This is a card of marriage. It's a card of tradition. But but it's also a card of God, okay, or spiritual. I'm not so sure that I would say that if you're being cheated on, you're going to stick to your marriage. I would say because the Magician card is in this reading, Cancer, that you're going to start to examine the conditioning that, and this can be religious conditioning too, that has said, God hates divorce or this or that, which I don't want to disparage anybody's belief system, but and I do think that people are being very they're lacking consciousness when they're getting together and then splitting up. However, on the other end of the spectrum, there might be times when people go into something with the best of intentions and they just grow in different directions. And that, how can that be wrong to part ways under those circumstances? When you're not doing so frivolously, but you're actually agonizing over it, but feeling that you no longer have that connection with that person. So it's just something to think about. This is also a card to me. I associate it with like a corporate type of job where there's a hierarchy. And I could see Cancers liking that type of job. So if you were looking for a sign that you are, the Knight of Cups might be some kind of an offer, even though I don't read that as a mundane prediction. Maybe it is meant to comfort Cancers who feel very stressed out right now, that you will be receiving that offer, and to have faith in unseen forces. Okay? All right, Cancer. That's what I have for you. I hope that you enjoyed this. God bless. If you'd like a personal reading, the link is below. Take care. Bye.